There it is. Excellent. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Sega. Genesis. Yo, it's Sega's ToeJam and Earl. The hippiness, hoppiness party that's kicking around the world. Giving it to you like it. ToeJam and Earl is so funky, it'll make you scream
like nothing ever before. Genesis is so much more.
ToeJam and Earl. Two homeboys can play a different gig every time. Go get your one and you'll be in the hell. Genesis. You gotta get it. It's a whole lot more. Peace.
Peace at the end of it. Peace. That's so bad.
But so good.
Hey, you guys. Welcome to Play Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Johnson. And I have to rhyme this. I got to be careful here. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Johnson. I'm here to say I like rapping in my own cool way, like playing games like this ToeJam and Earl, and never eating nothing like a nasty boiled squirrel. So if you're here to have some fun, I hope you brought your own burger buns. Right now I'm rhyming about nothing cool, but doesn't mean I wouldn't want to drown Earl in a pool. Word
up. You know, I feel a little attacked with that nasty boiled squirrel comment.
Well, it's because you live in the South. That's why.
That's right. That's the 4th of July. We just had it, and maybe we had some squirrel. Just kidding.
Yeah.
And I am your other host, Brian Dunaway, and I'm ready to get funky with these two alien rappers that drop from the sky like a funky beat. I say a hop to the hippity hip hop rapper types, and not the rapper type that goes around the outside of my Gushers candy. So 90s. Like two alien rappers go round the outside. Oh. Looks like Santa came early this year. Presents. Oh, man. It's full of bummer.
Yeah, it's all over. There are presents everywhere in this game.
Yeah, Santa, too. Santa on a jetpack.
Yep, Santa on a jetpack, and then a crazy mad scientist in a tree. And if you shoo him out of there, he goes like this. And he does that over and over. A lot. Anyway, we're going to talk all about ToeJam and Earl.
Is that what we're talking about this week, ToeJam and Earl?
Uh-huh. And as you can tell, Sega, those guys are into it. They were like, ooh, let's make this game. Let's be all full of 90s business, and let's really take it home. And they did. And they made a sequel that is very weird. And there have been games since then, including 2019. We'll get to all that in a minute. There
was one on the Dreamcast, too. Just saying, we'll talk about that as well.
But that was more like a busted prototype, right? Like
it was a busted prototype. Did I get to play it this week? Maybe.
Did you? Did you really get to do that? That's cool.
We'll see.
All right, you didn't tell me. That's rad. I didn't know that.
You know, I like to save some of the stuff for our relationship on air.
Yeah, Scott. Our on-air relationship. It's different than our private, man-to-man business that we get up to.
Man-to-man business. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. So I said last week that I was a big fan of these recharged Atari remake games that they put out every once in a while. They're like $10 a piece, sometimes on sale, that sort of thing. And Yar's Revenge Recharged was on sale for like $4.99, and I grabbed it during the Steam sale.
$4.99.
I think it's still for sale, so you still get it that cheap. And sure enough, that is one of the better ones. It is very, very good. Yar's Revenge is already a good game. Like the original is incredible, probably the best game that platform ever saw, in my opinion. And it holds up. They prettied it up, of course, and added some tweaks and stuff here and there. But for the most part, it retains the classic feel of the old game, but with some nice new twists. I can't recommend that enough, especially if you have a Steam Beck or Steam Beck? You know, Steam Beck?
Steam Beck. Hey, look, forgive us. We're still full of, I'm still full of hot dogs and hamburgers. Scott went to some kind of Mexican-American 4th of July that served tacos, which I'm so jealous of. But
at a pool where I swam after and then would eat more and then swam some more, and I'm just paying for it.
Could y'all at least did like minced hot dogs in a taco bun or taco shell?
Oh, that sounds terrible. Horrible.
That's the best of two worlds.
No, we had 3 meat choices. Like, it was fancy. We had good
3 meat choices.
Yeah, they were good tacos. Anyway, some of it was ground beef, so I guess technically there was hamburger in there. The point is, yesterday made me feel stupid, and I still feel a little bit stupid. However, that game is rad. Play it on a Steam Deck or anywhere. It's on Steam's where I got it. Play it on your PC, I guess. Great controller game, fantastic stuff. Can't recommend it enough. Brian, what did you get up to this week?
So cheap too, right? Like you said, like $4.90. Everything's on sale right now. $4.50 on there. Hey, So I'm pretty excited. I'm about ready to spend all my money because I could put a link in there too, by the way.
Oh, let's take a look.
There is an arcade opening. This is big news for me. Where I live is a small town, and I feel sometimes like I am a retro island. Like when I tell my friends, "Oh, I got a bunch of retro stuff," they all look at me with their mouths kind of hanging open, like they want to ask more questions, but they know if they do, I will keep talking, and they're like, maybe I won't. And so I'm very excited to see that there is an arcade opening just down the street. And there was like no movement for like months. And then suddenly big movement. There's all kinds of stuff. I'm seeing what's going to be in there. They've got pictures on Facebook. They got the Cruising USA. They got Time Crisis. They got pinball machines.
Yeah. Even
How will I survive?
Some one-up arcade stuff, just for a little splash of fun there. If you want to play something different.
Yep. They got regular arcade machines, but then they got some one-up stuff with the multiplayer type stuff. And
they got a Joust sit-down model. That is such a cool, rare thing. Oh my gosh.
They got the little tabletop Joust. They've got oh my gosh, they got Spy Hunter pinball. I could not be more excited about this, and I don't know how I'm going to survive it, to be honest with you. It's going to really cut into my productivity.
When are you going to go and do some, get us some pics and stuff?
Well, as far as I know, they have not opened yet. But then 2 minutes ago, literally 2 minutes ago, they asked what y'all doing today. And they have people there.
What?
So I've got to go. Literally,
yeah, you need.
I cannot
get down
believe.
There. Get down there. Go. You should end the show. You know what? When the show's over, Brian, you head over there. That's what you should do.
I can't believe it. I've been waiting for this to open forever. And look, and literally when we started the show, they did this. Rude.
Unbelievably
Rude, I
cool.
say.
That's so cool, though. I love having a good classic arcade. It's amazing. More of these, please. Everybody, we've said it before. Retro's having a moment. And I think part of that moment should be bringing back the core arcade experience. Why not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to have a Yars in there. Some Yars, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Atari. That'd be nice.
They'd have to have a 2600 hooked up.
Maybe I'll bring mine.
This barcade thing we do in Vegas every year for TMS Vegas is amazing. You would love it there. And it's a lot like this, except they also do have like places where people can drink and eat and stuff. And those all have like retro gaming consoles connected to small TVs at each table. So even if you're not playing the full uprights or the pinball or anything else, you can sit at these tables and play, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or some other BS. It's pretty great. Great.
I'm so excited. I can't believe it's finally here. So tune in next week because I'll be talking all about the shit ton of fun I had.
Yeah, you will have seen that place by then. So you can give us a full rundown of how it went. That's awesome. I'm jealous.
Excited.
I'd go with you if I could.
I'm excited.
Well, all right then. Let's get into the show proper.
Shall we play a game?
We shall indeed. And the way this is going to go is, here's the deal, folks. All right. You may say to yourself, I didn't play ToeJam and Earl. I don't understand what the big deal is. Well, you missed out because you would have heard this. Listen to this funky track. Yeah, this whole game is full of music like this. Of course, you don't play games for the music, exactly. But listen to this bit.
I disagree. We confirmed you do that with Bubble Bobble.
Oh, that's true. You do. Did you hear that sound they used? Listen to this one more time. Hold on. Right at the end of this.
Oh yeah.
What is that? What is that from?
There are some throwbacks in there, and I tried to figure out what they all were, but I'm not 100% sure. But maybe it kind of sounds like when you teleport. It definitely is like an Atari game to me, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It definitely sounds like an Atari thing. Yars says the chat. Maybe it is Yars. Oh no, Defender. That's what I'm hearing is Defender.
Oh, maybe it's Defenders. Yeah, that sounds right. Defender. Yeah.
Let me play that again here. Oh, that is so Defender, dude.
Yeah. See the little pixels popping
up.
Look
at Sega, man, snaking little arcade sounds for their game.
Yeah, look at that.
Anyway, we're going to talk about ToeJam and Earl and its sequels. The basis of it is you got these two alien rappers, ToeJam and Earl. who crash land on Earth, or mostly just to find pieces of their spaceship so they can get back home. The gameplay includes randomly generated levels, cooperative play, kind of an open world sort of vibe, and various little stuff you run into, Earthlings and enemies and stuff that you have to deal with. The series got weird in the second one. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about our top-down, three-quarter view, experimental, edgy 90s ToeJam and Earl experience.
Yeah, opposite. Okay, so let's set the stage. First of all, this is still, this is Sega Genesis. They've been pushing blast processing. They're pushing faster Sonic type games. We're doing some platforming. And here comes along Greg Johnson, no relation, and Mark Voranger, and they make this game, right? And this game is a rogue-like game. And I was like, wait a minute, it's a rogue? I didn't know it was a rogue. Get out of here. But I played it. When I played it back, okay, I didn't play very much of ToeJam and Earl, the first one, because I got to admit, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I think I rented it from Blockbuster. I played like the first 5 minutes of, man, it's like the story almost every week, isn't it?
Yeah.
I played the first 5 minutes and said, nope, trash, and threw it out the door.
Yeah.
So I played the first 5 minutes of it, and I'm like, this is so stupid. What do you do? Collecting presents? And then what? I walk over here and do this. It's so slow. And why is it so dang slow?
Yeah, it feels very antithetical to Sega's whole thing right then, which was like move, go, fast, streaky speed, Nintendo, blah, blah, blah. And this game's like, nah. Take it slow.
Nah.
In fact, we only got like 3 animation frames per character. It's a little bit a little shitty on that front. It's not great, but under the hood, man, there's some fun.
I didn't realize I didn't know anything at the time because I went from playing Commodore 64 games, and I went, I got into my Master System for a very short time, and then I moved into the Sega Genesis, and I wasn't really familiar at that point in time with what procedurally generated things really brought to the table. And that is a huge deal here. These procedurally generated levels. And once I played it for it probably took me about 20, maybe 30 minutes before I finally was like, had my aha moment. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. I'm enjoying the game loop of finding a present, through trial and error, using that present, maybe sometimes getting a bonus, sometimes getting destroyed, hardly ever dying, which is good because this game moves really slowly, and you'd be very pissed if you had to get knocked back too far.
Oh yeah, so it's a very rare occurrence in the game to die.
Yeah, dying's rare, and getting knocked off a platform area where you would fall down to the previous level isn't too bad. And once you uncover map areas and you figure all the button mapping out and stuff,
yeah.
It's actually, it gets addicting. It's like, oh, I see the game loop now. Yeah. I am basically dungeon crawling. I'm looting things. This is not what I thought it was at all.
Yeah. No, the game is very, very stealthy about that. Like you don't really think of it as, you don't look at this and go, oh, look at the hot new RPG classic from Sega. But that's what it is. It's a role-playing game with like those kinds of mechanics and a dungeon crawler in many real basic ways. And that's the loop. And it's surprising because what you think it may be, it's actually hard to tell what you think it may be on the cover of this thing. You're like, wait, what is ToeJam and Earl?
There's 2 rappers from space. And if you watch the story, I did. And if you read the manual, and I did.
Yeah.
By the way, the manual starts out with a rap. It wraps the whole backstory for you.
Do you have any of that there? You want to read any of that? You got that handy at all?
Oh, I don't have it. Let me wait a second. I'll pull it up. Hold on a second. Let me
see what
pull
you got.
The manual here.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm curious.
I'll pull it up here, and you can actually I'll share it with my screen as well if I can.
Share it with me.
But yeah,
share it with your friend Scott.
But I could do that. But what I meant to do was to share a link, because you could get this back in the day. You could get it with an audio tape. So you could order an audio tape and they would rap the whole thing for you. So here we go. ToeJam and Earl rap. I'll just give you just a little bit. I'm not really going to rap it. I'm going to read it. Yo, I was hanging in my rocket ship with nowhere to go. So I was cruising, listening to the radio, jetted to my homies, pulled up outside, said, yo, Earl, how about a joyride? And it's like that for like 3 freaking pages. And so, yeah, but basically, foolishly, our ToeJam is kind of the alpha in this relationship.
Sure.
And he lets Earl drive the spaceship, and he crashes into an asteroid, and then they land on planet Earth. For
Mhm.
some reason, it's like many games from that time. The Earth has a top, right?
Mhm.
And it's where Santa lives at the North Pole, and they
Sure.
crash basically in the North Pole, even though the environments are not all frozen tundra. Santa is there with his goggles and his jetpack,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
It's
weird.
It's got a little bit of
It's
ingredients from uh, Bill and Ted, right? A little Bill and Ted in
yeah.
here.
Got your elevators, your
Yep.
your
Your space
your
elevators.
level to level space elevators. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Reminds me of that. It also has the very stupid 90s Yo MTV Raps kind of vibe going on, right?
Right.
Which was very popular at the time. It was a little bit less gangster and a little more I got a basketball and I filled it up.
Homie,
And it's just like that, you know?
It's day-to-day homies, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's just they're just hanging out. They're trying to just trying to get through the day. And every day is an adventure, right? And I really dug that. As a matter of fact, the creators of the regular show liked ToeJam and Earl so much, they essentially based their characters around ToeJam and Earl.
Oh, no
At least
way.
that's
So
what
the
Quentin-
raccoon
that's
and
what
the
Quentin
bird,
says.
I forgot their names.
Yeah, that's Mordecai and Rigby.
Mordecai and Rigby, that's it.
Yeah, so there's been I can't quite place my hand on the source of it, but I've read several articles about that, is them quoting that as an inspiration for that kind of that day-to-day funk, right?
Mhm.
That day-to-day adventure
Sure.
that you're getting with ToeJam and Earl.
Sure. And the game gives it to you in copious amounts. I think it still holds up. It's a little hard to look at, I'll be honest. I don't think the first game is showing its best side. You know, it's not pretty, but it is functional and it is rewarding. And there's something about discovering new parts of the zone and pulling off, pulling off the game loop feels good.
Yeah.
In this game.
Yeah. It absolutely feels that way. And ToeJam has 3 feet, and
yeah, he does.
At first, I wasn't understanding. Like any good game that's got a good game loop, it doesn't need explanation for everything. But I was like, why did they destroy Earth when they landed on it, and now Earth is floating because it's all over the place? But then I started thinking about it. Oh, I'm like, from a design standpoint, it makes sense. They're making biomes, and they're making randomly generated maps, and one of the game mechanics is not falling off the edge, right? Usually, you're not going to fall off the edge. You're not just going to walk off the edge. He does the cool spot. I'm on the edge of a thing.
Yeah.
Cool spot, by the way, I feel some cool spot vibes here too.
Oh yeah, definitely getting that vibe. There's something about just the attitude of it, Yeah, it fits all that stuff.
It was the Attitude Era.
Yes, the entirety of the 90s and gaming in particular. That was the Attitude era. Right. We have the Attitude area now, right here in my office. Anyway, it's good. I think it holds up. I just my only bummer with it, and there's a reason, by the way, why the 2019 not remake, but the revive that came out in 2019 adheres to this structure and not Funkatron or Funky Town, or the hell the second one was called.
It's Funkatron.
Yeah,
you're right.
Unlike that one, they instead chose to go with the aesthetic of the original, and I think that says something. I mean, certainly the fan base preferred it, so you're making them happy.
Yeah, and Greg Johnson, who was the primary idea creator before he hooked up with programmer Mark Vorsanger, and they created the Johnson Vorsanger Productions, which later became ToeJam and Earl Productions after the success of ToeJam and Earl. He remained co-owner, but he also continued to develop games like Doki Doki Universe, and he made this ToeJam and Earl's last game, the one you were just talking about.
Right.
And one of the reasons why it returns to the first form is because that was the only form that he really wanted to make. He was a big fan of the game Rogue, which this is based on. And there's some great interviews on Gama Sutra. What was it called? Gama Sutra.
Gama
I've never said it. I've never said it out loud. I read
no,
the
it's Gamma. It's supposed to Gamma Sutra.
Sutra.
It rhymes with the thing it's based on. So yeah,
there you go. GameDeveloper.com. I think eventually they either bought it or whatever. Anyway, the point is, there's a really good blog post. It's not an interview. It's like him interviewing himself, Greg Johnson.
Yeah.
And I'll post the link to that and everything. But he talks about how the studio has kept interfering, because when they made the follow-up, which we're going to talk about just in a minute, part 2, that's not, they redirected it, because that's not what he was making. He was making a part 2 to the original game, and it was going to be more of that, but
more just improvements and stuff. But it would have been this same structure of top down, whatever. He had a real vision for that. Instead, that second game said, yeah, you know that whole problem with what Sega fans expect about speed and all that crap? We probably ought to do a platformer, because that's what everybody's doing now. We're all doing platformers.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. And it's kind of...
He was absolutely right. But I'm going to give a little bit of praise to 2 here in a second when we start talking about it, because I think there's some things to like about it. But sometimes great artists actually thrive inside of limitations that are imposed upon them. So I think... the artist still rose above the restrictions that were given to them. But back on the first one, ToeJam and Earl, some of the things that frustrated me with this game is infinitely frustrating too. As much fun as it is, opening presents that are bummers or things that punish you piss me off so bad. I hate it. And there's also times on the levels where you'll like run against the hula girl, and she'll be, if you get too close to her, you get basically stunned, right? You start dancing and you can't do anything.
It's like real life. That one's real. That's a realistic.
It's like, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's too real. It's too real, Scott. I don't care for it.
Sure.
And, but those things really frustrated me in the game. But then other things I loved. And the thing that frustrated me the most was that I couldn't get net play to function. And what net play is, allows people to play 2-player co-op like we were sitting on the couch together through something like RetroArch. And so I can turn that functionality on in my emulation, and I can allow someone to join me. Unfortunately, you have to have the same version of everything. You have to have the same version of the ROM. You have to have the same version of the emulator. You have to have the same version of net play. And it's a little complicated. But I would like for me and you to do that sometime in the future. So I may be sending you an SD card.
Let's do it.
This specifically got the exact same stuff that's on mine. And then we can play 2-player, because ToeJam and Earl shines. So Greg Johnson and Mark Vorsanger really wanted to create a multiplayer kind of couch co-op experience. Kind of like Bubble Bobble when we talked last week. I found a lot of connective tissue between the 2 games. Yeah. Especially when it comes to being centric towards that. You get rewarded for playing together, like high-fiving, so you can continue to have health. And but you also get punished together too. So if you're both exploring and one of you picks up a present, you may give both of you a big fat bummer, right? And so you'll both get punished for it. And it's also got the split screen. Did you play 2-player any where when you're close enough together? This is the earliest example of
split screen that would like peel off and then split again. Yeah, that was definitely an early example of that. People who maybe played some of the Lego games, Lego Star Wars and stuff, we're talking like a early version of that, kind of where you can split screen.
Yeah,
go off and do your own thing, and then meet in the middle again, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm looking at some video right now of 2019's game, and this game does support the full co-op experience. That's built in, and it's pretty much the same thing, but it's a cartoony version. So I have conflicting feelings about it. I highly dislike the new one. And I'll put it. I don't mean the gameplay. The gameplay is fine. That's all. I feel like that stuff is true to the vision of what ToeJam and Earl is all about. I just think the art direction. I like the interstitial animation stuff where it's like storytelling bits. That stuff works great. The made everybody kind of angular and cool looking. Just a little bit more like, I don't know. It looks like graffiti almost. But the actual video game part of it, do not like how it looks. I found it to be kind of bland and boring. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks very much like real 90s animation. So I appreciated that aesthetic and that's fine, but it did look a little bland to me as well, but it was very well received in 2019.
No, fans are happy with it. So
yeah,
good.
fans loved it. So I can't complain. But yeah, I'm with you. It wasn't necessarily my jam. I actually enjoyed the pixelated mess that is the first one. That gave me more fuzzy feelings than looking at it this way.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about. I have friends who hate pixel stuff. Anything with pixels, they just feel like we're past it and you shouldn't have to play video games with pixels in them anymore. But not me, dude. I love it. I picked up a new game this week that's just all beautiful pixel art. And man, I never get tired of it. I think it's an aesthetic that will live forever. And even though we're starting to see some decent examples of kind of low poly, crusty PS1 era stuff, and that making a little bit of a comeback, I don't think any of it will ever hold a candle to pixel art. Love it.
Yeah, I think so. I just pixel art just does it for me.
Yep.
And maybe we'll have to die before it dies, but still, I'll keep it in my heart always. Did you explore any of the hidden stuff? I love it when game designers hide stuff, because it creates a level of interactivity that I feel very flat when I'm not rewarded for exploring when there is an exploring component, right?
Oh, sure.
So
yeah, I get that.
This game allows you to find in higher levels things that will allow you to explore water areas in lower levels where you can go further and find unlock hidden areas. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't played ToeJam and Earl.
Yeah.
Anyway,
someone will play it. Somebody will pick it up for the first time and play it, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was surprised at a number of people who told me they had not played ToeJam and Earl, especially the fact that I never really played it other than like once on a rental. And I used to work at Blockbuster, so I would get games and I didn't feel pressured to necessarily play them because it was part of my, my perks, my benefits. I could get free movies and I could get occasionally, I think, one game. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was.
I'm curious. I was curious about that. Like, if could you once a week for a day off or a weekend off or whatever you're doing, you could take something home.
Absolutely. The movies always were like that. Now, new releases had restrictions, and they only did the video games for a short amount of time. They kind of flip flop back and forth on that. Because it was such a thing where people were in Nintendo especially was like going, we don't want our video games in your store, and you can't use the manuals because we'll sue you because we can't get the other things out. But so there was a lot of things going on, so there's a lot of rules and changes. But I did occasionally get to take video games home, and I think ToeJam and Earl was one of them. Not 100% sure, but I know lots of times I would take stuff home and I would play it for 5 minutes, and since I did it for free, I was like, all right, whatever. I'm bored.
It's such a Nintendo, such early example of Nintendo getting funky with their plans.
Getting funky.
Yeah.
And Sega was always like, oh, Nintendo don't? Then we do.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah.
You can use our manuals. You can use our cartridges. In fact, you can put our name on stuff if you want. They were down to
There was some Blockbuster exclusives. We didn't do an episode on that, did we? There was some Blockbuster video game exclusives.
Do you have an example of one or one that rings a bell? I can't think of any.
Shoot. It's been so long. Oh my gosh. I can't think off the top of my head, but I do remember there being some exclusives. It was nothing. There's nothing to write home about other than in the context of, hey, remember game rentals?
Wasn't like Pepsi Man or something, was it?
No, it was real stuff. It was real stuff. It was Pepsi Man. That's
so you were there during give me the era in gaming that you were at the Blockbuster. What was this era?
Oh, it started out with the NES and then the Super NES. And so it was the 8 and 16-bit era. Did they ever rent any of the PlayStation things? I think that was right after my time. I had left about the time.
Well, they rented PlayStation and 64, and
they did.
As far as I know, they were still doing that up through their end. I think they were still doing 360 and PS3 at the time. Yeah. When did they actually fold? When was that?
Oh my gosh. Officially, that's a good question.
Blockbuster.
It looks like there was.
Let's see.
Looks like Nintendo eventually got on board because there was some exclusive stuff there. Oh, Eek the Cat was a Super Nintendo thing they did exclusive. It looks like Final Fight Guy. These are all Mr. Nuts.
Mr. Nuts.
Ren and Stimpy. Okay.
Mr. Nuts.
Mr.
Here it is.
Nuts.
2010. The original company went defunct. 2013, the Dish-owned corporate portion, and in 2014, the corporate-owned stores, and then 2020, as a complete chain ended. That was that final store they had up in Oregon, was it, or somewhere like that? Anyway, let's see. Bankruptcy, liquidation sale, limited continuation of brand name in the United States, and currently Sling TV owns them.
Interesting.
They own the name. They own the name. There's nothing
Why not?
really to own.
It's like the Atari shirt that I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, look at that.
Atari isn't necessarily the company it once was, but you spent so much money on all that marketing and merchandise, you can't just let the logo die.
But at
right?
least they're
Same
doing.
with Blockbuster.
At the least they're doing something though with Atari. Atari's making content.
Yeah.
They publish content. Like they're actually a functional. They're not. You're right. They're totally different than what they used to be. They're not owned by the same people. Like all that stuff has changed hands. But Blockbuster, if you go to blockbuster.com, it's just like this big blue holding page. There's nothing there.
It's because somebody's trying to figure out what to do with it. It's like we brainwashed all these people for like a decade and a half. We can't just let that die, right?
Yep. And that story, Omega's 9, there is a funny aspect to this. At one point, Netflix offered them $1 million. Or sorry,
did they
Blockbuster.
do it like this?
Or is the other way around? I think it was Netflix offered. Or Netflix was for sale, or they would be willing to sell themselves for as low as $1 million at one point, and Blockbuster turned it down.
I wish you could have seen
idiots.
I wish I still had a lot of people who were on the inside with Blockbuster when all of that started going down, and the sheer arrogance that was at Blockbuster at the top at that time was just hilarious. It's kind of like how Sega died. It's like there was just so much, just arrogance of, we've been on top and we're going to find a way to get back on top, and we don't need none of your bullshit,
Yep.
And so, and it was just like, nope, they should have, done something. Now, $1 million was pretty light. I mean, it's $1 million. That was not nearly. That was really a joke. Really, I mean, come on.
I mean, if they were serious about it, this is where, before Netflix was worth billions. The problem is they had no foresight. Like Blockbuster couldn't see past their freaking nose. They didn't know what the future was because they weren't trying actively to figure out what it was. And when it was already starting to be clear to them that the rental service through the mail was going to take over for a while, they were slow to do that. And by the time that thing peaked and was going another way, online streaming had happened, and Netflix or Blockbuster was like, well, shit. We don't know what we're doing. I thought you just want to buy some popcorn, red vines, and maybe, rent a game for an hour.
There was they had the rental service, the discs for a while. I even did that for a while, just out of pure loyalty to the company. I did it once. I could definitely see. I was like, dudes, you guys are in trouble.
I did it once, and I got a copy of Fifth Element or something shattered in the mail, and I went,
nice.
I'm not using this anymore. I'm done with Blockbuster.
I'm not doing this no more.
Yeah.
But that was the time, man. It was the 90s. You could run to Blockbuster, pick up a ToeJam and Earl, take it home, not understand what the hell you were looking at. This isn't Sonic. It was cartoony like Sonic. It even had a little bit of, people forget that Sonic wasn't like the absolute hedgehog he is today, right? He was not necessarily going to be the mascot. As a matter of fact, when we got to the Saturn right after the Genesis, we didn't even see Sonic because we wasn't sure how he fit in, right? They were still trying to figure out who they wanted. And ToeJam and Earl were kind of the face occasionally. And was smart too, because this was hitting a demographic that really hadn't been hit. Now, I listen to a lot of rap music. Now, I may not have been living the rapper life, but the culture of rap and and this is not pure rap, by the way. This is Greg Johnson is I believe he is of multiple ethnicity background. I think his parents are different ethnicities, and he was able to tap into some of this Yo MTV Raps kind of thing that maybe not just everybody could, because of that more diverse background potentially. I'm not saying that made him better at it or something. I'm just saying he may have had a different perspective that you might not would have seen.
Sure.
And he talks about that in his article too, by the way, that I'm going to send you a link to. But yeah, man, this was great seeing this other way, but in some ways it's also kind of surfer. They say that they're rappers, but there was a surfer contingent, and that's the thing around getting that Bill and Ted vibe that you were talking about.
Big time.
Kind of,
Slacker buddies, dude, where's my car? Just that whole thing.
Yeah.
That whole.
But it was kind of crossing over anyway. That we had the Fat Boys doing the twist, and so it was kind of all that stuff was kind of crossing over anyway. A lot of mixed genres.
Earl had a better name. ToeJam's a gross name.
It's funny you should mention that. I didn't. I need some scrutiny on this one, but
scrutiny. Okay, go ahead.
I can't find the source where I read it at, but I was watching a documentary, and there's some, and the originally Greg Johnson conceived the characters through a dream, and the character's name was ToeJam, and he was misheard, and they went with ToeJam, or they thought it was funny. One of the two. Anyway,
that's like my brother.
Is pretty good too.
That's like my brother's YouTube channel. It was supposed to be Ding Pong Creates, and he called it Ding. He misspelled it Ding Pong Crates, like a crate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so he missed the E. Yep. I love it. That is beautiful.
And now it's everywhere, and he just lives with it because what do you do?
Roll with it, man. Yeah. It's great because to be honest with you, if we would not be covering ToeJam and Earl. Because
probably not. No. Yeah.
There's something about the angle of the 90s and our passion for things that were gross that this aligned with that keeps it alive with nostalgia, if nothing else.
This news from Omega 9 is killing me. He says,
oh my God.
in reference to this game, he says, my black friend told me I couldn't play it because I was white. I believed him and never played it until I was older. Oh, jeez. Jeez.
The later stuff actually does feel a little bit when you get to the Xbox version when they start talking.
Yeah.
So far we're still in the the 16-bit era, and we're not hearing any voices other than quick little sound fights. But
that guy.
Yeah. That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get into the Xbox era, when you start having multimedia and you start having voice actors, you do start wondering, it's like, ooh, am I doing something? Am I watching something that is exploitive, or is it something else? And you do have, it just from our modern lens, this is not something that we've always been aware of. We're just more aware of it now. Mm-hmm. To look for that. It's easier to look back and go, oh, we were exploiting people. Like if you go back to the 70s and stuff, there's definitely exploitation going on in film. And then they also with some ownership of that and some success stories there as well. And so I always find it historically interesting to look at it and go, is this exploitive, or is this, just a representation of the truth that was kind of, but then artistic license, truth, but with artistic license.
Sure.
Is opposed to exploitation.
Yeah. The bigger issue though, it was fun to play and people dug it. So what do? They come up with this. More good music, and you're thinking, oh, okay, all right, ToeJam and Earl are back, and it's going to be just like what I loved about that last game. And then you keep playing, you realize, why is he jumping? Why is this only on a 2D scrolling parallax screen? What did they do? Well, they made a side-scrolling platformer, is what they did.
Yes,
and that's what everyone thought they wanted. That's what people thought was the thing. That if you're playing a game, what mattered most was 3D platforming, or not 3D, but just, platforming games. And it's not that it's a bad platforming game. It's fine. It's just so, it's like this. It's like we made Skyrim, and our next mainline Elder Scrolls game is going to be a farm sim. You know what I mean? Like it's just a different genre. So what are you doing? Like it's just a weird choice. I don't love it. It's not my favorite.
We talked a little bit about pre-show about things that are marketable and things that are lots of times the creative license goes out the window when you're talking about, well, we got to make some money off this. The first one did good, but we want to do great, and so what's selling. Now this looks a lot like Spot, right? Because we're side scrolling. We got some music. It's supposed to be economy of quick creation as well, right? I mean, you just take some elements and you side scroll and you put some gaming mechanics in there. You can jump but I was impressed. At first I was like, oh no, they've ruined ToeJam and Earl because they've stripped everything away from it that makes it good. But they didn't. I like rogue games, and it was surprising to find the rogue elements in the first one. But then I found that I was able to enjoy things about this game because the exploration is still here. The collecting of presents is still here. These two crazy characters that they're now back on planet Funkatron have accidentally allowed humans to, piggyback ride on their ship, and now these two teenage rap stars are got to go clean up their mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all those things are still here, being 90s silly rap everyday adventure stuff is still here, and seeing these weird alien funky stuff, I felt like we kept more than we lost.
Well, the vibe is, you're right, the
it.
vibe is very consistent. It's just a very different game. And if I was, I don't remember how I felt at the time. I think I remember feeling like, oh, well, why am I doing this then? Because this isn't more of what I want.
You would feel like you just started watching. You would turn this on and you were like, "What is this? Alien 3? Did you just Alien 3 me? Did you take everything that was good about the last one and then kill it?
Yeah, or
this one,
or the video game or it's the equivalent of what they did with, say, we've talked about this before. Joust 2 is a problem. The second Dig Dug 2 is a problem for the same reason. It's like you fundamentally change what this thing is.
Right.
And when you do that, you run this risk. And I just think the risk just didn't pay off.
It didn't pay off.
You
I play this. I since I didn't have a lot of investment, I actually played this. I want to say I played this first.
Oh, really? Before the old school? That's interesting.
Yeah, lots of times when we get games at Blockbuster, you couldn't rent the new releases until however long after. So, I might have missed out. Whereas for some reason, I remember playing this. I don't know if I played at a friend's house or what, but I do remember when we started talking about doing this for the show, I was like, oh, yeah, I played that. And then I went and looked and said, oh, no, this is that other game. I'm like, oh, I totally confused this. And so a week later, I now understand that I probably played this first. And that probably jaded my feelings on when I played that Rogue. And I'm like, well, this isn't, side-scrolling action good times. This is some weird-ass present simulator, walking simulator. No thanks.
Yeah. No, I guess if you came to it from that angle,
right.
I did this with Firefly and Serenity. I saw Serenity before I saw the series. And I remember loving that movie so much. And I thought, well, when I go back to the show and watch that for the first time, it's really going to add to everything. And in some ways it did, but for the most part, it looked just kind of low rent and not as good as the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that, and then I've had other people say, well, that's the only way to do it is the show first, then the movie. Then you really get a finale out of the thing. And they're right. We're both right. It's just what you experience first often will inform your feelings later. In your case, old original ToeJam and Earl doesn't hold up to this. And I'm the opposite, because to me, this came later and I went, what the F are you doing? And you were like, what the F were they doing? Why didn't they do this the first time? It's funny how that works.
And I've heard it too. I've seen this across the board out of the things I'd watched, videos, and talking to people while I was streaming this week. A lot of people were very much like that. If they didn't play any of the series, they seemed to be kind of drawn to the ToeJam and Earl and Panic and Funkatron. Yeah. And I heard from a lot of people, they were like, oh, I couldn't get into the first ToeJam and Earl, but I like the second one. But then I heard a lot of people say, yeah, the first one is God, and that second one is just, is little pointy devil. It's the worst. It's the worst thing that's ever existed. And so, yeah, a lot of heated discussion on my ToeJam and Earl play this week, and almost all of them shared the same thing though. And none of them played the third one. As a matter of fact, most people didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, I knew it existed, but I didn't. Well, let's play some of that because this has got some voices. You guys want to hear the third one? This gets crazy. Here you go.
Give it up, give it up, give it up for Master T. Say ho for the greatest rapper around, the DJ TJ. I jam your rap, your head is spinning like a b-ball. Can't stop it, can't even slow it down, y'all. You know you got no choice, you gotta dance when I get going.
Here comes Earl.
Call me Earl, and I don't say that much, so I'm just cruising in the funky flow, you know. Everybody round, yo, they moving at high speed. I'm chilling it down, you know, moving at my speed.
I really like the rap. I think it's actually great. It's
I
good stuff.
love both of them, and I had not felt like this was exploitive at all until we got to Letitia's rap, and I was like, ooh.
She's fine.
Ooh, no. You
Here,
guys
I've
have,
got her. Let's play her song too. I got it right here.
Yeah.
Here you go. Somewhere here. Where is it? Come on, lady. Where is it?
Everybody.
Did I not capture her? I might
have.
not have. I thought I did. She does a whole thing at the beginning where she's like, well, the reason this place needs some cleaning up is because it's all dudes here and need some ladies. And that's basically her rap, her version of the rap. She's fine. Whatever. Third character to play. It's fine.
I loved her. Actually,
Here she is. She is in here.
But I noticed,
Yeah.
yo, something was missing here. The female touch. Gotta get busy. Gotta do it good. Y'all step back, cause Letitia is in the hood.
It's so cheesy.
It's so cheesy. But I will tell you this. I was getting vibes of something that I haven't felt since the 80s, which was that this could have potentially been somebody's animation crush. Now, my animation crush was Chitara from the Thundercats.
From Thundercats?
From the Thundercats.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, do you have an animation crush?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question.
Right.
Do I?
There might have been nothing sexy. There might not have been the sexiness that may have not entered into animation because we weren't doing a lot of anime style stuff here in America. So most of our stuff was outrageously cartoonish.
Oh, yeah. It's Chitara, Wonder Woman, freaking real boring stuff.
Yeah. So
what?
But
now this question is going to haunt me, though. I got to figure out who my cartoon crush was.
well, so I mean, a lot of people I know that we did Space Jam. That a lot of people loved Bugs Bunny dress and drag. No, Lola Bunny. So a lot of people had like a little bit of weird Lola Bunny crush. You know, we had Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jessica Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But those are obvious, right? Those are, Jessica Rabbit especially. It's an obvious thing, right?
No, I
And
had
I
a
felt
thing.
like-
You know what? I just realized what it is. Who was
What's
the
that?
girl on Voltron?
Oh yeah. The princess? Or
No.
Yeah.
She was one of the pilots that got into a
Oh, she
tiger
was.
suit.
She was the princess, and then she was the pilot as
Was
well.
that who that
she,
is?
She originally wasn't supposed to be. We need to watch some Voltron.
Yeah,
Go Lion. Need to watch some Go Lion, baby.
I guess so. I can't find any others that I can think of. Like, first thing that came up was Gem. I'm like, no, not Gem.
Oh, Jim, she's a crush, right? She's truly outrageous.
She is truly outrageous. Yeah, you got to watch out for her.
Was Adam anybody's crush from He-Man? Adam, was he?
Adam?
I mean,
like, I'm Adam, Prince of Eternia. But here's the problem: when he's Prince of Eternia, not the new ones. The new Kevin Smith stuff's pretty good. But in the old ones, he's the worst. He's the worst.
Yeah.
Why would you want to spend more than 2 minutes around that dude? It would kill me.
I kind of like Adam.
Oh,
He's
hey,
all
Dad.
right.
What are we doing today, Dad? He's just like, I'm wearing pink. That must make me different than He-Man. It's like, suck. That sucked.
He's one of those nerds. Be like, oh, that guy's a nerd, and then he takes his shirt off, and you're like, oh, how's it going, Adam?
I know, lady. It's a GI Joe woman, redhead.
Oh yes. Oh oh my
Lady
gosh.
something.
Wear the glasses.
Lady-
She's not. Oh, you like Lady J?
Lady J is who I'm thinking of. The
Oh,
redhead.
you like no. So you don't like that. You don't like the Cobra's bad girl of rock, then, do you?
Oh, F her. She
Oh.
sucks.
Oh,
she-
come on.
Leave her to hang out with Destro and all those jerks. She doesn't need.
Oh,
to
come on. I maybe I'm a bad guy. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a funny question. Send us in yours,
So
everybody at home.
the Baroness is not. Oh, the Baroness is smoking. But you're into Scarlet, right? You're
Yeah.
into. Is it Scarlet that you was into,
I thought it was.
or is it Lady J? Because there's both. There's Lady J and
is the
Scarlet.
one. The Lady J is the one I liked.
Okay, so
She
not
was
into
the
the redhead.
She was
okay.
the main. She was the.
What about Duke? Got anything for Duke?
I got nothing for Duke. Duke
How about
and
the strong silent type of
Snake Eyes?
Snake Eyes.
I like Snake Eyes, but I'm not romantically involved with Snake Eyes.
All right, fine. So maybe not. So Gung Ho, he's pretty. He's got those killer abs, man.
Who was the actual wrestler they had in there?
Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah,
Was that
Sergeant
who it
Slaughter.
was?
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah. I think that's it. Wasn't he an actual?
Am I crossing that?
I think he was in there.
Remember, no, was it?
I think.
Oh my
so.
gosh, we got to go back and watch those too. I'm forgetting things. Things
Yeah.
are starting to slip away from my mind, and I need to refresh them because I'm afraid I'm mixing things up.
There are some good
I love it.
Transformers later in Transformers, but the
But-
early Gen 1 stuff, they were no good ladies
Right.
in there. So I would say a Transformer, but they weren't there.
But-
so.
I could totally see me crushing on ToeJam and Earl's character because Letitia is. They even like it's kind of funny. You don't see this. It's very foul mouthed, this game. And it also is they deal with walking around with cameras and filming each other. Very unusual for 2002. We know if you had a camera, that you didn't have, we're not walking around with our phones and stuff, right?
I have that somewhere. Let's see. Is it right here? Yeah, I have them talking.
And
about
they're following her and they're getting shots of her butt and that kind of stuff.
Here it is.
Give it. Let's do it.
Give it up, give it up.
Is the camera on?
No,
Is the camera on?
no.
It's also real muddy and ugly, but whatever. This is an era of games
it's-
where it's things didn't last. Original Xbox, GameCube, and PS2 for all their benefits at the time. I'm sorry to say it doesn't look that great now. Yeah,
Right. If you question yourself and you go, Brian, Xbox original is not retro. That's reserved for Space Invaders. Go back and look at ToeJam and Earl, Mission to Earth, 2002 for the Xbox, and you'll go, oh, I see what you mean.
it's retro now.
It's retro. Okay, so the biggest leap forward here visually that happens after this that impacts the gameplay of this game is it is a third person when you're playing. You're running behind whatever character. I went with Letitia this time around because I played ToeJam in the first one, then I played Earl in the second one, and I said, oh, got a new character, so I'm going to play her. They all basically play the same, even though they're supposed to have some advantages, but I didn't really see that much of advantages. Where's I going with all that?
I don't know.
Oh, I know exactly where I'm going because I'm watching the video you just pulled up.
Yeah.
The problem is there's some really big platforming in this game. And if you know anything about early 3D platforming, it sucked.
Yeah.
And so you got these spring shoes and you have to jump. And one of the things you don't think about is one of the ways that you can tell in a 3D world where you're located at is the shadow. And we hadn't got to really good shadows in games yet, not in a way. Lighting was not great, especially on characters. And so that becomes a real big problem when you're trying to land places and you can't really see the shadows. And so you can't make those determinations of where you're landing at.
Yeah.
And so you have control when you're in the air to kind of manipulate it so that you can land in a certain place. And it's really difficult. And it really hurt the gameplay here for me.
Yeah, the game's just I don't know. It doesn't hold up. It could be.
I found it to be enjoyable as a collecting, which that's what the first one was like. It was like, oh, I love collecting things. I love getting presents. I love that aspect of it. I love exploring. It's really good at that. But then when you have to do the platform, it really falls flat. And you fall constantly, and that's fine because that's what happened in the first one too. You fall on level if you get to the edge, but it's very brutal, unnecessarily so. And I didn't care for that part. But the characters are hilarious. The humans you run into are hilarious, and there is a funk mechanic here that is actually very interesting. You can funk with people by throwing funk at them. So basically like a swipe in your arm, and the humans are against you until you blast them enough times with the funk and then they love you and they will help you. They'll give you money and they'll help you progress. Until then, though, they'll come up and kick you in the knees and you'll be stunned and you can't do anything. But there's a lot of small little game mechanics in this one that really works well, but not something that Greg Johnson wanted to do. This was once again something that was forced upon him. They wanted key collections so that you can unlock areas because the producers were wanting to have unlockables, right? So that was the big thing at the time, is unlockable content, live content. You could actually download from Xbox Live.
Yep.
You could download extra areas and that kind of stuff. So that's what they were pushing for. They were pushing for their current money maker. It's like, hey, we'll make your game and we're glad to have you and we'll market you, but you gotta essentially do some transactions for us too, so we can make a little bit of money off of this. So
I don't think this sold that well. I think it did okay, but
it wasn't big enough either way to move the needle much, but it didn't do great. But at least it did get made, because I got to play the Dreamcast prototype of this.
Yeah, tell me about that.
It was pretty much complete. It was pretty much done. Unfortunately, at about the time they were finishing was the time that the Dreamcast was closing down shop. So they had a pretty much completed game that no place to distribute to. So they looked at. By the way, by this point in time, they were ToeJam and Earl Productions, and they brought in another team that Visual Concepts Entertainment. You've probably seen a lot of their sports stuff.
Sure.
And so they came in and were helping them get it prepared for other platforms as well, because it was essentially the same game as Mission to Earth was for the Xbox, for the Dreamcast, but it didn't have you couldn't jump, you didn't have as many perks and stuff. It wasn't as a complete game. You probably could finish it a lot sooner than the Xbox one, so it wasn't full and robust yet, but it was a complete game, so I played it a pretty good bit.
Interesting.
And I actually enjoyed it. It allows you to play earlier in the game, where you can do this love mechanic where you can basically take a jam box and funkify. And so like a funkify instantly it wins the human over to your side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did I mention why we're even back on Earth? I don't think we even mentioned why we're back on Earth.
I was going to say, it's a very Earth-like planet in this prototype I'm looking at here. You're definitely not on some alien planet.
Yeah, it was on Funkatron the first time. Now we're back on Earth, and the reason why is because we've been dispatched. Because when the Earthlings came back, they took a vinyl collection, and so we got to funkify it and get it back to Funkatron.
Yeah.
I love this dumbass story.
It's so stupid, dude. It's so
stupid. It's so stupid. Yeah. But I'll tell you, I had fun. If you've never played this game, it's hard to find on eBay, even though it's not impossible. It's kind of hard. It's not that expensive, but if you wanted to break out your Xbox and really play this, you could, but you're going to be disappointed probably, because you're going to end up in a lot of dead ends where there's no live content where you're like, oh, I like to unlock that. Best to emulate this is just to do the emulation.
Yeah.
And be done with it.
Piece of cake,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Piece okay.
And if you're like, what's a modern incarnation of this thing? Check out 2019's ToeJam and Earl Back in the Groove. People do like it. Yeah. I think it looks bad, but I think it
plays fine. I think it plays fine. I'm with you though. That for some reason, so there was another difficult moment, like 2015, 2020. There was another difficult moment where we had gaming engines for indie developers that weren't quite where they needed to be, and so some of these graphics look very simplified, and it's going to be one of those things we're going to look back and we're going to go, oh, that was that little 5-year frame where
and maybe they'll
like
they'll revisit this stuff one day and do another one. I don't know. This was a crowdfunded project as it was. It wasn't a regular game, produced like in the background and then suddenly it's published. They actually crowdfunded it, so they could do that again, I suppose.
Yeah.
Real quick, something in the chat came up. Oh, Omega 9 says, is the PlayStation 4 retro yet? It will not be retro technically by our numbers until 2020. I'm sorry, 2030. Hold on.
Right.
2033? No. Sorry, 20.
Clarification. Right.
What's 20 years after 2013? I can't think of it. 23 was 10. Now we got to go 2023. Yeah. No.
Yeah, 2033.
2033. I was right the first time.
Right. Yeah.
That will
Don't doubt yourself.
That'll be the case. But that's a weird thing.
Right.
Don't dox myself. Why? How did I dox myself? What were you saying? You said don't dox yourself? Is that what you said?
Oh, don't dox yourself. That's good advice in general. But I was saying don't doubt yourself.
Oh, doubt. I thought you said dox. I'm like, how am I doxing myself? Trying to come up with this number.
Don't doubt or dox yourself. These are both two very important life lessons.
My brain's half working today on the math. But anyway,
it's all that hamburger meat and tacos.
2033. If we get there, if we make it that far, that's a weird idea that 2013 will be a retro time. And it sounds weird in my own head to even say that because PlayStation 4 games still hold up. They still look amazing. Like play them now on modern hardware. You got, 120 frame beautiful everything. We're going to have a conversation at some point about what is the upper limit of retro because it's all smoothing out at the top.
So we've typically in the past what we've done with this show, and we've discussed this a couple of times, we discuss what makes something retro, and it's usually because of some technology that's come along this essentially changed the game, right? So Xbox, the original Xbox was just starting to bring in networked type play. So we'd had a little bit of network, but it wasn't widespread. But going forward after that, we were talking about online services and that kind of stuff. And so it fundamentally changed how we were playing games. It wasn't necessarily because of the visual parts. So what's going to happen is we talked a little bit of pre-show about this too. Love, hate, whatever you want to about AI is disruptive. And there are going to be game things that are going to change. Not necessarily, I'm not talking about like the AI generated graphics or anything like that. I'm talking about how we interact with the AI that is in video games that is going to make the video games of today look prehistoric, right? There's going to be things that are going to come along. And so in 20 years, when 2033 comes around and we go back to 2013, we're going to look at those, whatever metric it is, and it's probably going to be that AI interaction. And we're going to go, oh, that looks antiquated. That looks like something we haven't seen in 20 years. We haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Really curious about that.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what happens when we get there if we all live that long.
But that's our opinion. What do we know?
Yeah, we don't know nothing.
We just play old video games. What do you want from us?
We don't know stuff, but we do know this.
Destroy it.
Time to play a game that we made. We bring audio to the show, we play it for each other, and we try to have each other guess what game it came from. We get to tell each other what the year was and what the platform was. Other than that, we're on our own to choose from a list of 4 possible answers. I'm going to start this week, Brian, with a platform of the GameCube and the year of 2000. Okay?
GameCube, one of my favorite consoles of all time. So give me it.
Hard saying.
I'll probably screw it up.
I loved mine. Anyway, here is that. Let's play some audio from that. 2000, I told you. Okay, here we go. Where is it? There it is. All right, ready for your options?
Give me my options on my GameCube from the year 2000.
That's right. So here are your options. You have A, Skies of Arcadia, B, Chrono Cross, C, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, or D, Vagrant Story. So again, those options are A, Skies of Arcadia, B, Chrono Cross, C, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, or D, Vagrant Story.
You did a really good job because you played me audio that sounds like a big adventure, and all of those kind of have that big adventure kind of sound. And so I'm having a little bit of trouble. I didn't play very much Vagrant Story, if any at all. I have seen it before, but it's been a long time. I played Majora's Mask not that long ago, but I skipped through the intro, and most of what you played sounded like intro music.
Yeah. A little bit of it is. I'll admit that. Later on, you get some of this. I mean, there's a bunch of battle stuff and all that, and all these games have some sort of battle going on. But
Right. And let's see, Chrono Cross. I don't think it's Chrono Cross. And Skies of Arcadia. So I'm gonna knock out B and C and go between A and D. Skies of Arcadia or Vagrant Story, since I don't remember much about Vagrant Story, but I did play a good bit of Skies of Arcadia. And Scott's going back and forth on the notes, and I'm gonna say, give me the A, baby.
You want A? Skies of Arcadia?
Give me the A.
Let's find out.
It sounded big.
Is that true?
That's a big game.
That is correct. Nicely done.
Yeah.
Skies of Arcadia came out in 2000. Awesome game. Sky Pirates. Cool stuff. It's really
cool
good.
game.
If you haven't played Grand Blue Relink or whatever it's called, it's new.
Right.
It's also real time. It's not turn based. That is it's kind of like that. You're in the sky a lot. You're in a boat that flies. You're doing all kinds of sky pirate shit. It's amazing. It's really good.
And by the way,
yeah.
I apologize for taking so long and thinking through stuff.
No,
I know some people get annoyed with me thinking through the answers.
It's all right. It's how you come to your realizations.
Process.
Yeah. You're just, you're a man with a brain. It's all good.
Yeah, just a brain.
Brian, tell me about your Dreamcast 1999 game that I'm going to
So
play.
look at that. We're in the same gen, right? Except mine came out a year earlier because Dreamcast was early to the game after being late early with the Sega Saturn. They said, hey, we're going first.
Yep.
And so they dropped 1999. They dropped the Dreamcast. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
All
Scott,
right,
if you
here
don't
we
mind.
go. Very intense so far.
Yes, and loud. Apologies.
What the hell? Over there. I can't believe it. Shooting from that far? No shit.
Wow.
Woman?
A woman? All right.
A woman?
What are my options? Who do I have to choose
All
from?
right. Here we go from this amazing game from Dreamcast 1999. A game I want to cover in the show sometime in the future. Is it going to be A, Blue Stinger, B, Illbleed, C, Resident Evil Code Veronica, or D, D2? D2.
D2. All right, I'm gonna jump to a part of this I haven't heard yet.
You're great. If you're an ESA member, you'll definitely be ranked A+.
You're flattering me, but you won't get anywhere that way.
All right, I played a shit ton of Code Veronica. I don't think this is it.
Right.
D2? What the hell is D2?
D2. Remember D2?
Well, Diablo 2 is all I think of. I don't know what D2
Another
is.
horror game. The horror, so much good horror on the Dreamcast. Horror.
Illbleed. Blue Stinger.
I did the same thing. I kind of picked things that were all kind of similar as well.
Oh, these sound.
They're got survival and horror in a lot of these. So that was kind of my jump to.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them on Dreamcast.
So, and the year was 99, you said?
The year was 1990 of 9.
Not that that's going to help me much. All right, I'm going to say Illbleed's not it because I don't know why. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Code Veronica, I'm taking off because I don't think any of that dialogue matches. D2, I don't even know what it is. Blue Stinger. It's between D and A.
Yeah, DNA again. A and D. D and A.
I'm going to say Blue Stinger because it sounds like something where people would talk over radios and stuff. I don't really know.
Right. Scott, give yourself an A+ for Blue Stinger. You nailed it. That's right.
Look at me. Look at the brain on Brad. That's fantastic. I had no idea.
Dude,
I didn't play any of these except for Code Veronica. The rest of these missed me.
Yeah. And we've actually covered Resident Evil Code Veronica. And I was like, I shouldn't have said that because I want to cover it in a future show. I gave him a hint. Hopefully you don't remember. But that, and I every time I kind of always forget about Blue Stinger. I've looked at it in the past. And I'm like, every time I see it, I'm like, oh shit, we got to do that one. We got to do that one. That one's off the chain.
What is
Weird.
it? Is it a action game? Like what's the deal?
It's kind of like all these horror survival games, except there's a lot of cuts and clips where you're clicking through stuff. It's action adventure with a little bit of with a little bit of a funk, a weirdness, right?
The funk. We've been doing funky stuff.
We've been doing a lot of funk.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Who's this?
But let's just say there's monsters and there's see the zombie looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's dinosaurs. There's there's a lot of boat riding. You're
There's
on a boat
dinosaurs
around an island a lot.
Is there a pirate man? Because I see a pirate man here.
I think there's pirates in there. Pretty much any of that kind of stuff. It's just so weird, and the dialogue is just so freaking delicious.
It seems
it's
really
almost
bad.
Resident Evil level of bad.
All right, I'm in. Sign me up for this stupid thing.
Yeah.
All right, well done. We both did it. We got, that's points for us.
That's pretty good.
I'm very impressed with ourselves. Okay, you guys listen up. We got this new other thing we do on the show.
Welcome to the treasure room.
Oh, by the way, we haven't done this. I forgot to do this. How do we do that? Hold on. No, that's not it. No.
Try this level now.
All right, we're welcoming Spider-Man 2 from July of 2004 to the retro space.
Yeah, July the 7th, 2004, Spider-Man 2 hit the streets, and that makes you a little bit retro. At least play retro, in our opinion. You would have got this on the Nintendo DS, Game Boy Advance, GameCube, PlayStation 2, or the Xbox. And yeah, we haven't seen you in a while, Spider-Man 2, for that generation, and we missed you, so we thought we'd trot you back out and say welcome to the Play Retro.
Let's see what Ken Griffey Jr. has to say.
This is Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay, that's great.
Why do you have that as ready?
I don't know.
I love it.
Because
that's amazing.
It's weird shit, and I like weird shit.
Yeah.
Let's get to some listener feedback. This is where you guys can text us or email us. The text line is 801-471-0462. You can also email us at playretroshow@gmail.com. FrostMN, which I assume means Minnesota. I think I've done this before with him, and I always forget. Anyway, listening to Play Retro, he says, you guys talked about Bubble Bobble and Joust having similar vibes. I'm not sure if you've mentioned it anywhere, but have you played Killer Queen? Very Joust inspired. Also, Micro Center has one in the Twin Cities area, so they aren't completely regional to the Dunaway area. So Killer Queen made a big splash at a bunch of PAXs and gaming conventions for a while there, where this relatively, indie, if you can call it that, indie arcade machine would go around. They'd have big competitions around it, but basically it was competitive Joust is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. It's really good. I played it once somewhere. Don't remember where I even saw this. I think it was in Vegas somewhere.
Yeah.
But I played it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I think did I ever play this? I don't remember. I remember looking at it. Maybe we talked about it's 2013, right? So
yeah. And you can still find it at killerqueenarcade.com. Not to be confused with the Killer Queen song.
No, yeah.
There's a song by the same name.
Because that's the first thing that pops up when you do a search for Killer Queen. It that pops up.
Yeah. So scrolling down here.
Let them eat cake, she says.
Is there any way to let's see how to play? They never put this out on anything but arcade machines. I don't think. Let's see.
Surely someone has emulated it. Oh, look, for only $15,000, we could own our own. Oh, look, they got a quick buy button. I don't ever want to see a quick buy button on a $15,000 something.
Nope.
There should always be click on this and let's think about it for a little bit.
Yeah. No. I'm with you. Let's make that clear. That's not a way to sell me $15,000 worth of anything. I ain't doing it.
No. And I can go out and almost buy a car for that much. I mean, come on.
I'm looking to see if there's any kind of arcade version of it. It's just nowhere. Nobody's got this.
Yeah.
Why don't they put this out on Steam? Make a big multiplayer bunch of money. Just make what are you a bunch of purists? What's going on?
Right. I guess the world's only 10-player arcade game. Maybe that's the factor of it, because there's so many people that has to play at the same time. Now, we also talked about, what was that online thing we did with the Joust too? Because Joust has like an online game where it's got it's unlimited numbers of people to play all at once. And I wonder if that thing's still active.
Oh, good question. I don't know.
But,
I wonder if that is.
Yeah.
Remember we played that a bunch. We played that Joust online thing for a couple of weeks there.
That was neat. But Frost from Minnesota, thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
Minnesota.
It's the Retro Report, which Brian will now tell us what's going on around the retro space for us in this community.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about retrogib.com for just a second. And the reason why is because for some reason, some butthole kept trying to I don't know, kept trying to log into the back end. Anyway, Cloudflare is our friend. But you can head to retrogib.com and find out about Roller Coaster Tycoon, Unreal Tournament 99, and Unreal Tournament 2004. We have servers set up for all of those for our community. and information is there for how to get it, how to set it up, the password needed. If you want to bring some friends along, it's a great time over there at RetroGIB.com. Also has some other information over there about our Amber Nicks and things. And I keep adding content to it here and there. Retro achievements. What's that?
I was just gonna say, I wish we were gonna do an X-Men today, but I have stupid core to do. Not that it's stupid, but I have to do core tonight because of the
I know
holiday.
It's just it's the holiday. It's not stupid. It's just the number of things we do in a day. Sometimes it's unfortunate there's not more time. Retroachievements.org. ORG'd it up this week myself with ToeJam and Earl. Got several achievements. As a matter of fact, I would go far as to say that out of our community of followers who've been following me as well as the Play Retro, we have a Play Retro, by the way. If you ever want to log into it, I'll give you the information so that you can go put some high scores on the Retro achievements for the Play Retro account. But think of Co-Fight, Snug Radio, Bob the Spiffy, the Gray Ghost, like the arcade, and more, who followed me, and I followed them right back. And I'm kicking all you guys as trashes for ToeJam and Earl this week. I made more retro achievements, and it's not a contest. But if it was, I'd be winning.
You would win that contest, hands down. You would.
Hands down.
You would. I believe it. I believe it.
I believe it. Yeah. I'm not competitive. You're competitive.
No,
also,
it's all you. It's not me. It's you.
Yeah. Did we mention at the top of the show, if you're not part of our Discord server where we talk about all these handheld devices, I should be frogpants.com/Discord. Get in there and look for the Play Retro channel.
Yeah. Quit wasting your time on other crappy Discords. They're dumb. Get into ours.
Sit on X?
Yeah. X.
I
guess I'm streaming there, but that's all I do there now.
I heard nobody watching it there.
Well, I heard a rumor you won't be able to do it unless you pay for it. They're gonna pull it. So
yeah, absolutely. They want any way they can. And I think the last time I looked, people weren't able to comment on anything I was doing unless they were like a premium subscriber. And I'm like, well, I don't want that.
I think that's already a thing. So it's kind of watch only for everybody else. And then when they change that, that's kind of it for me on X.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. It's been great.
Exit stage left. I'm going to take my retro funk and I'm going to fly right back to Funkertron without you, X-Chicken.
X-Chicken. That's right. X-Chicken.
X-Chicken.
All right. We are going to tell you fine folks what's coming up next week. We are going to do Jet Set Radio. Now, you might say to yourselves, boy, that seems awful recent. Nope. It's 20 years plus.
Yeah.
And not only that, this is a game series I never got into, and everybody was like, Scott, why aren't you playing this? And I'm like, I don't know. It just seems it's trying to be too edgy for edgy's sake. It just wasn't into it. And I have bigger taste for that now. I think I would enjoy it. And so I'm looking forward to playing the retro versions. I'm going to grab this Steam game that is supposed to be like a big-time spiritual successor to it that I forgot the name of, and I would tell you right now if I could. I don't remember the name, but I'm going to check that one out too, because everyone's saying, like, if Sega's not going to make it, then this is the one to play. But also, we have word that Sega will be making something new in that era coming up soon. They also, I don't know if you heard the stuff they said about Crazy Taxi last week. Did you hear about that?
I'd seen some stuff about Crazy Taxi. What did you hear?
Here it is. They said, here it is. Crazy Taxi developer gives a big update on what they are calling a quote-unquote completely new game. He says, series producer Kenji Kano, he says it will be completely new from what came before. It says, like many Sega games, but okay, I don't care about that. Where's the rest of this? It goes open world. Sega posted a recruitment page highlighting some of the game's features. The page features requests for people with experience in large-scale level and multiplayer connectivity. Based on this, Sega appears to be developing an open world, massively multiplayer Crazy Taxi game. Sign me up. I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah. I think I saw that, and I saw somebody was doing some cosplay on TikTok with the Crazy Taxi. It's probably old. It's probably making the rounds again.
Yeah.
But it was, I guess it saw that I was interested in the Crazy Taxi content, and it said, "Do you like that? Here's more of it." And it was pretty hilarious since my drive around in that convertible taxi-looking thing.
Get in your car, turn on some the Offspring. Play some Offspring.
Oh yeah. So that's going to be a question too. We're starting where we get to this part, because we do it in waves. We start back at the arcade and we kind of go through a little bit of decades and everything.
Yep.
And every time we get up to this area of the retro, we have to start being careful with the music rights and stuff. So we'll have to see how the
We'll see how that
what
goes.
I'll have to do this week for streaming.
I don't know what Jet Set's. You probably turn all the music off, is my guess. I don't know.
Right, we'll see. We know that Tony Hawk was a little bit like that too, like the pro skater and stuff.
Definitely a little sketchy for sure. Yeah.
Tony Hawk skating, as they say in the UK, I believe, or in the PAL
Tony
regions.
Hawk skating. But I'm sorry, skateboarding. I think
skateboarding. That's it. Skateboarding.
I had no idea. That was news to me.
Yeah.
Someone pointed that out this week, and I was like, "What? Freaking UK? What are you guys doing over there?"
I knew it had to be somewhere in the PAL region because the box was the blue and the blue swirl was the PAL region. I think orange was the Japanese, and I believe we were. Ours is either more red or orange. I have the Japanese version. Now I'm getting confused.
I thought we had. Shit, I don't even know.
Shit.
It was orange. I thought.
It was red. I think it was orange. Yeah, I think ours was orange, and I think the Japanese version was a little bit more red, I believe.
That could be. Well, one way or the other, come back and check that out with us next week when we talk about more of Jet Set Radio and its impact. That is going to do it for today's show. Thank you all for listening. Please go to our Patreon at patreon.com/playretro. We got no newbies this week, but we love everybody who's in there. And they love us because they're not getting commercials. They get pre-show content every week. They get monthly benefits. Be over there. Be part of it. Support your favorite retro gaming podcast today at patreon.com/playretro. That'll do it for us. Come watch us live on the Fridays, 1:30 Mountain Time. That's what we did today. You could be right here with us. And Brian and I will hang out with you. And if not, you can listen to the podcast like you already do. YouTube as well. Whatever you want. That's going to do it for us. Go play something retro. We'll see you next week.
Now.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.
Is the camera on?
No.
No.